You are 34. Last night, Marcus sat across from you at your kitchen table and asked you how you did it. 10 years ago, you and Marcus were hired the same month, same company, same starting salary, same rung on the same ladder. Marcus outworked you on paper. He had the energy, the ambition, the handshake that made managers remember him. Last night, Marcus sat at your table with a coffee going cold in front of him and asked you, quietly, with the kind of honesty that only shows up after midnight, how you actually pulled it off. You told him the truth. He sat back in his chair. He stared at the ceiling. He said, "That's it?" You said, "That's it." The difference between where you landed and where he landed was never the salary. It was one quiet decision you made at 24 that nobody thought was worth making. You are 22. You have your first real job. Not the summer kind, not the internship kind. The kind that comes with a benefits packet and a parking spot and a manager who says your name in meetings. Every 2 weeks, a direct deposit lands. And every 2 weeks before the next one shows up, it's completely gone. Not because you're reckless, not because you're stupid, because rent is rent. The car payment is the car payment. The subscriptions are the subscriptions. The Ubers, the lunches, the concert tickets purchased at exactly the wrong moment, the shoes bought on a Tuesday for no reason you can clearly name. You're not broke. You would never call yourself broke. But if your transmission goes out this week, you cannot cover it without a credit card. And that thought lives so far in the background of your mind that you've gotten genuinely good at not hearing it. Marcus, meanwhile, has leased a car that makes people look twice in the parking garage. Black. New. He talks about the monthly payment the way people talk about something that costs nothing. Two guys walk over the morning he pulls in for the first time. They do the thing men do around new cars. Slow circle, nodding, impressed. Marcus leans against the driver's side door like a man who has already arrived. You drive a 7-year-old Civic. You park one row over and walk in through the side entrance. You are 24. You get a raise, not life-changing money, a few $1,000s a year, which after taxes and the way you're living becomes a slightly nicer version of the same exact trap. It dissolved into a better apartment, a new phone upgrade you told yourself you needed, the gym membership you pay for in full whether or not you go. The raise didn't help. The raise just raised your floor, and you climbed the walls to match it. It happens on a random Thursday night. No special reason. You're sitting on your couch, phone in your hand, and for the first time in years, you actually do the math. Not this month's math, your whole life's math. 40 more years of this paycheck landing and leaving. 40 more years of the gap between what you earn and what you have never closing. 40 more years of working hard and arriving exactly where you started every single month. And at the end of those 40 years, a retirement account that might not be enough. And a social security check you've been told not to count on. The thought doesn't scare you the way you'd expect. It just empties you out completely. The next morning you notice a man at the office you've walked past 100 times without seeing. He's maybe 58. He drives a 12-year-old Ford. He brings his lunch in a paper bag every single day. He has no urgency about him. He moves through the office like someone who could leave at any moment and lose nothing he actually cares about. You stop him in the hallway, half joking. You ask him what his secret is. He doesn't smile the way people smile when they're about to say something empty. He just says, "Most people spend everything they make trying to feel like they're winning. I stopped doing that at 27. And he walks to the break room and heats up whatever is in his container. You stand in the hallway for another 30 seconds after he's gone. That night, you open a second account. You set up an automatic transfer for the morning of every payday. Before rent, before the car, before you've had a chance to talk yourself out of it. A fixed percentage, not a lot, not enough that you'd feel it immediately. The first bill you pay from now on is to your future self. You increase your 401k contribution to the company match. You open a Roth IRA you don't fully understand yet and put $200 in it. You write the number you're starting with on a sticky note. You fold it in half. You put it in your desk drawer. You tell absolutely no one. You are 26. You've stopped chasing the things you used to chase. The title, the raise you don't actually need yet, the apartment upgrade everyone your age seems to be announcing. You've gotten very good at saying, "I'm good for now," in the cheerful tone that keeps people from asking follow-up questions. At a birthday dinner, 12 people at a long table. The question makes its way around. What are you working toward? What's next? The guy to your left just got promoted to senior level. The woman across from him just bought a townhouse in a neighborhood everyone wants to live in. They have answers that make the table lean in. The question reaches you. You say you're still in the same role. You say things are steady. You watch the table move on from your answer, half a beat faster than it moved on from everyone else's. The conversation finds someone more interesting. Finish your food. You drive home in your Civic. That night, you sit in the parking lot for a minute before going inside. Not devastated. Something more complicated. You feel like someone who voluntarily stepped out of the race and then looked back to discover the race was the only thing giving you a scoreboard. For years, your job title told you who you were in a room. You quietly gave that up, and you have no idea yet what goes in its place. You don't know it, but you just survived the part of this that breaks most people. And it had nothing to do with money. You are 28. Marcus parks next to you on a Monday. New wheels on the same lease. This time a trim level up. He looks at your car, and then at you, and his expression isn't contempt. That's the thing that actually stings. His expression is concern. "You doing all right financially?" he says. Like genuinely, "You good?" You tell him you're good. He nods the slow way people nod when they've already formed a conclusion. "I mean it," he says. "If you ever need anything, just reach out." You thank him. At lunch, two people in the break room don't notice you come in behind them. One of them says they feel bad for you. The other one floats a theory. Student loans maybe, or family stuff back home. Neither one is right. You have more liquid savings than both of them combined. You cannot say that. You cannot say anything. So you take your food back to your desk and you eat alone, and you let them have whatever story they've built. Nobody noticed. And for the first time, that was starting to feel intentional instead of accidental. You are 30. This is the year that almost breaks the whole thing, not from outside, from inside. Because you miss it. You miss the rush of buying something that turns heads. You miss having a clear scoreboard, a title upgrade, a bonus you could mention, a purchase you could post. Quiet Game has no audience and no announcer and nobody keeping score. There is no notification when you do the right thing. No reaction on your phone. No one at the table leaning in. One night you open a car configurator on your laptop. You build the version you would have bought at 24 if you could have. You run the financing numbers. Manageable monthly payment, 5 years. The rate isn't terrible. You sit with the screen on your face in the dark for a long time. You think about pulling into the garage tomorrow. You think about Marcus walking over to look. You think about what it would feel like to be in the conversation instead of one row over from it. You know exactly what it would cost. Not just the payment. Everything you've built quietly for 6 years, trade it for the feeling of being visible again. You close the laptop. You don't know yet how close that actually was, or how soon it won't matter. You are 31. The layoffs come on a Tuesday, company-wide. Half the floor is cleared out by 3 in the afternoon. You and Marcus both get the calendar invite at the same time. Same subject line, same HR rep. Standing in the elevator with a box, you run the numbers in your head. The fund is real. Not retire tomorrow real, but real enough that rent is not a crisis. Real enough that you don't have to take the first job that calls back. Real enough that you have a few months to be thoughtful instead of desperate. Marcus takes the first offer he gets, a lateral move at a company he would have turned down 2 years earlier. Salary slightly lower, 2 extra hours of commute. He keeps the apartment. He keeps the car. He keeps posting. From the outside, Marcus landed on his feet immediately and you were the one who went quiet. What actually happened is that Marcus couldn't afford to wait, and you could. That gap, that single gap between being forced to grab and being able to choose, was the only thing that ever separated you. And it was built out of every small, quiet decision you made while everyone else thought you were falling behind. You find the right job. You take your time. You choose it. That had never been true before in your entire working life. You are 33. Things that used to be emergencies are now just Tuesdays. A car repair, a medical bill, a slow month. You pay them and move on. The flat tire gets fixed in the afternoon and forgotten by dinner. You've started noticing your weeks instead of just surviving them. You make different decisions, smaller ones, about who you work for, how you spend a Saturday, which things you're actually doing because you want to, and which ones you were doing to be seen wanting them. The circled date on the calendar passes on an unremarkable Wednesday afternoon. You almost miss it yourself. You're in the middle of something and you look up at the date and realize quietly that you crossed the line you drew at 24. There's no party, no reaction from anyone. You close your laptop, go make coffee, and sit outside for a while. Nobody noticed. That was always the point. You are 34. Marcus is at your kitchen table. His coffee has gone cold. He's not asking out of politeness. He's asking because the gap between where he expected to be and where he actually is has finally become impossible to look away from. He wants to understand how you ended up on the other side of it. You think about every dinner where you felt like the answer that disappointed the room. Every Monday Marcus parked next to your Civic, and looked at you the way you look at someone you've already written a story about. Every year of silence, every decision that left no trace anyone could see. You tell him the truth. You paid yourself first, every payday, before anything else, for 10 years without stopping. You didn't touch it. You didn't talk about it. You let the gap grow while you let the noise shrink. That's all it was. A simple rule practiced in complete silence for a decade. Marcus stares at the table. Nobody does that, he says. You say, that's why it works. There's a difference between building a life and performing one. For a long time, the performance looks like winning. But a performance requires an audience. And the audience moves on. And then all you're left with is whatever is actually there underneath. You stopped performing at 24. Nobody applauded. Nobody noticed you leaving. That's exactly how you got out. Race ends the moment you stop running it for people who weren't watching you anyway. Maybe you already know which direction the exit is. Maybe you already circled a date that no one else will ever see. If you do, keep it quiet. That's not a weakness. That is the entire strategy. Nobody's going to notice you leaving, and that is the whole point.